To discuss about. So first of all, you have to understand what is entity relationship diagram, or in short, it is called ER diagram. So ER diagram is a data modeling technique used in DBMS to produce a conceptual data model of an information system. Okay, that is ER diagram. So again, I am repeating what is ER diagram. It is a data modeling technique used in DBMS to produce a conceptual data model. That means it actually deals with conceptual design of an information system. Okay, so ER diagram illustrates the logical structure of database. ER diagram illustrates the logical structure of the database. So what ER diagram does? ER diagram identifies entities, attributes, and their relationship. Entities, attributes, and their relationship for the building. I think here I done mistake. Okay, relationship. Not for to build. So to identify entities, attributes, and the relationships, and to build a model, we need entity relationship diagram. This is what ER diagram does. So in case of entity relationship diagram, we have three things. First is entity, which is nothing but tables or record, whatever you call it. Second thing is attribute, which we can call columns. And the third thing is the relationship, which in the diagram referred as lines. Okay. So one example of entity. So this is the entity. Okay. So entity, attribute, relationship. These three things are there: entity, attribute, and relationship. So entity example. This is an entity example. Entity means tables. So this is the tables you can see. So first column is nothing but this is the column. Attribute is the column. This is the column student ID. This is second column name, last name, and the third column is first name. So all the data values are there, and these values that we have entered for student ID, last name, and first name is nothing but called instances. So you have to fill the table with the instances. Then only it will be a database. Okay. Otherwise, it stores the data. That is what it is. So here we have 6 instances: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Entity instances, a single occurrence of an entity. Single occurrence of an entity. So this is one example of an entity. So entity is nothing but tables. So here, what is the table name? We are calling this table as student table or student entity. Okay, this is the first thing. So entity is table, that we understood. So what I will do, students, first I'll go through the overall top view of the entity relationship things, and then I'll come into the individual nitty-gritty of the model. Okay, so first let us understand entity means tables, means records. Each entity will be having attributes, means columns, column 1, column 2, column 3, and all the entries of the entity will be, or the table will be filled with instances or values. Okay, so this is what entity is. Next, what is relationship? So entity and attribute you understood. What is relationship? How to build relationship. Okay. So this is one instance of single occurrence of an entity. That means this is one instance. Now we will be having definitely several instances of entity. We will be having many tables. So what relationship is? How to make the relationship between the tables? Relationships are association between entities, which is true. I'll be having more entities and I'll be having association among them. First thing. Second thing is that typically a relationship is indicated by a verb connecting two or more entities. Okay. So entity will be the relationship will be identified with the verb. That means you have to give some name to the relationship, and that will probably be verb. Okay. Employees are assigned to the project. Let's say in this case, this is a student database, uh, and let's say we have two entities. One is employee, another one is project, and assigned is the relationship. Okay. So relationship should be classified in terms of the cardinality. Now another term comes over here which is called cardinality. Cardinality means cardinality will define the relationship. What type of relationship? Let's say in case of here, like I am taking class and you guys are there, so you might be in a number of 65 or 70. So it is a one to many relationship. So that is cardinality is one to many for our case, this teaching learning process. And here this entity relationship cardinality could be one to one to many to many. Okay. Not only one to many also would be possible, I guess. We'll see that when you dig more into the concept. Cardinality is needed in relationship. Without cardinality, no relationship can be built. Okay. So the cardinality means what? The cardinality is the number of occurrences in one entity which are associated to the number of occurrences to the another entity. There are three basic cardinalities of degree of relationship. Just now we have seen one to many. So here it is one to one, which is one is to one to many, one is to m, and many to many. M means to n. So one thing you can look at it that many to one relationship is not there. We'll see whether many to one relationship is a possibility or not. But here you cannot see that. So one to many, and many to many. This is many to many relationship. Okay. And then we will be having identifier also. So attributes that uniquely identify entity instances is called identifier. And what can be the identifier becomes a primary key in the relational database systems. Primary key in short it is PK. That is also called identifier. So composite identifiers are identifiers that consist of two or more attributes. Now we will go into the these attributes things. Okay, composite attribute, multi-value attribute. Before that, let us understand that this also called identifier. If it's uniquely identify the entity instances, then we'll be calling it identifier. Okay, identifiers are presented by underlying the name of the attribute. Let's say employee and student. In employee ID is the identifier. That means employee ID uniquely identify the employee all instances, employee table all instances. And in case of student table, let's say student ID is the identifier and it uniquely identify all instances in the student table. Now there is something called crow's foot notation known as I notation. So which that means for each and every uh, this thing we have the notational representation. So represented by rectangle. Entity is represented by rectangle. Okay. Attribute is represented by no this kind of square box. Okay, attribute, and then okay this is that. So this is called crow foot notations. Okay, crow's foot notations. So here entity is represented you see as a rectangle, and here attribute student is represented. So here no, this is entity is rectangular, and here you can represent entity. So here entity is student. Inside the student entity we have student ID, first name, last name, date of birth, and major. Three types of cardinality already I have told you. So this also can be represented in terms of notation. So this is one-to-one notation, this is one-to-many notation relationship, and this is many-to-many relationship. Okay. So this is one-to-one, one-to-many. Okay, and this is one-to-many, and this is I don't know what is this. Just forget about these two. So this is one-to-one. This slide you just ignore. Okay. Now here one example is there. Now let us go to the other things. So basically what I was trying to do in this PPT is that to tell you the overall picture. Now let us go to the directly to the actual thing. Okay. So we understood the outline. So before that, let us understand the simplified diagram to illustrate the main phase of the database design. So this is a complete phase, main phase of database design, where you can see that first requirement analysis happens, then function analysis happens, then conceptual design happens, logical design, physical design, application program design, and transaction implementation. Okay. So from this part to this part is DBMS independent, and this part to this part is DBMS specific. That means application program design, transaction implementation, all these things are DBMS specific, and the upper portion of this is DBMS independent. That means whenever we develop this part, design this part, requirement analysis and all, there is no direct relation with the DBMS. So DBMS independent. That means function analysis. So every time you do a project, you make a DBMS, you make a database, you would understand, you want to analyze the functional analysis. There's functional analysis, and then later on you also have to analyze the non-functional analysis also. Okay, like the marketing and all. So this is a very simplified way, a representation of main phases of database design. Okay. So requirement collections and analysis. What happens in case of requirement analysis? Requirement collection analysis, that document data requirement happens, functional requirements happens, and then conceptual design using a high-level conceptual data model, concise description of the data requirements. Everything happens in this stage. Okay. Then in case of conceptual design, not concerned with the implementation story. That's what you're saying, that in conceptual design, it is not bothered about how the implementation is going to happen, whether it is going to be tough or easy, or whether you need a lot of human resource, everything, those parts will be ignored in conceptual design. The mind will be totally free when you will be designing conceptually. High level, confirm that the conceptual schema meets the identified functional requirements. Okay. Logical design, already you have discussed, map conceptual schema to implement a data model, and physical design is all about data structure, indices, and access path and file organization. This already you have discussed in detail. Now again we are coming here in the entity model, entity relationship model. You can see that entities, relationship, and attributes. So entity we understood, table name. Relationships we understood, just now you have seen we can have one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many relationships. And there is something about these attributes, special thing. Okay. So what does it attribute means is that we can have four types of different types of attributes. Okay. First attribute is called simple versus composite attribute. Okay. Simple versus composite attribute. So simple attribute means it's an atomic attribute. Okay. 1 second, friends. Give me 30 seconds. Yeah, got it. Answer. Yeah. So first differences, first differences we have is that difference between simple attributes and composite attribute. Okay. So a composite attribute can be divided into smaller subparts which represent more basic attribute with independent meaning. For example, address. Here, address. Address could be a composite attribute. Okay. Address could be a composite attribute of the employee entity. So this is employee, let us assume this is employee entity. Inside the employee entity, I have an attribute called address, and this address could be a composite attribute. Meaning is that this address attribute could be subdivided further subdivided into more attributes. Which are the more attributes? Such as street address, city, state, and zip code. Street address, city, state, and zip code that can come inside the address attribute. That's why it is a composite attribute. Okay, students, remember that. The address can be further partitioned into street address, city, state, and zip code. Not only that, the street address can also be further partitioned into number, street address, number, street, apartment number. So this is one thing about composite attribute. Now, what about atomic attribute? Atomic attribute means that it cannot be further subdivided. Okay, atomic attribute cannot be further subdivided, such as age. Age is 55. It cannot be further subdivided. Nobody can again partition the age attribute. Okay, age is 55. It is constant. Okay, the address can be. So that's why address is a composite attribute and age is a simple or atomic attribute. Atomic means what? It is atomic by nature. That means nobody can partition it. Okay. So composite attribute can form a hierarchy. For example, street address can further be subdivided. You have seen street address can further be subdivided into three simple component: number, street, and apartment. So this is composite attribute. Okay? So when composite attributes are useful, composite attributes are useful to model situations in which a user sometimes refer to the composite attribute as a unit, but at other times refers specifically to its components. If the composite attribute is referred only as a whole, there is no need to subdivide it into the component attribute. That means if address is taken as a whole, let's say one simple address, there is no partition in, we are not considering any partition, then it will be working as an atomic attribute only. Okay. So it depends on the group they are making the database, how they will be doing so. So if they think that address is a single attribute, atomic attribute, that is also possible. Nobody stops them. But address can further be subdivided. This is also possible. This is first thing. First thing in which one? Simple versus composite attributes. Okay. Next is single valued attribute versus multi-valued attribute. This is also a difference. Distinguish. You can distinguish single valued and multi-valued. So what is single valued attribute? Let us see. So here single valued, in some cases two attribute values are related. For example, age and birth date attributes of a person. Okay, could be a age and birth date attributes of a person. So in some cases two attribute values are related. For example, age and birth date of a person. For a particular person entity, the value of age can be determined from the current date and the value of person's birth date. Okay. So what it says again, for a particular person entity, the value of age can be determined from the current date and the value of that person's birth date. So the age attribute is hence called derived attribute. Okay. So this is multi-valued. This is not multi-valued. This is derived attribute. Multi-valued means most attributes have a single value for a particular entity. Such attributes are single valued. For example, age. In case of single value, the single value attribute is age, and multi-value attribute could be a car. Let's say we are talking about a car with more than one colors. Let's say one car is there which is a combination of 3-4 colors. So in that case, if it is a single color car, then we will call a single valued attribute. Let's say car is a combination of 3-4 colors, 2 colors, then we will call it multi-valued attribute. Car is a multi-valued attribute. Okay. So another example of multi-valued and single valued attribute may be college degree. So somebody might have a single college degree, graduation only. Some fellows can have more than one college degree, maybe graduation, post-graduation, PhD, postdoc, DSc. Okay, so that is what from degree perspective, multi-valued attributes are possible. I mean, degree could be a multi-valued attribute. Okay, this is there. So multi-valued attribute may have lower and upper bounds to constrain the number of values allowed for each individual entry. So let's say if I'm considering multi-valued attribute as a degree, and if I say there should be a upper limit and lower limit. If somebody starts from, let's say, 10th standard, 10, 12, then graduation, then post-graduation, then PhD, postdoc, DSc, something like that. So there should be a limit, an upper limit and lower limit. We shouldn't be too much generic. Okay. So it should not be too much this thing. The number should not be too much. I mean, it should be 5, 6, 7, 8 like that. Maybe 3 to 4. So college degree could be a multi-valued attribute. And then second, the third one is stored versus derived attribute. The things that I was talking about. Stored versus derived attribute. What is stored versus derived attribute? So stored attribute could be, one example of stored versus derived attribute could be, if I know the date of birth. So date of birth could be a stored attribute, and if I today I can calculate the person's age, that will be a derived attribute. So let's say somebody date of birth is something, let's say 12 January 1990. So this is the date of birth, and then you can calculate how much age he is having today. So you are deriving of today's age from starting from the date of birth. So that is date of birth will be a derived attribute, and sorry, the today's age will be date of birth, derived attribute, and the date of birth will be a stored attribute. Okay, this is one example. Another interesting example is there for derived attributes, such as, like, let's say if I ask you to count the number of students in the class, so you will say 65. So in that case, 65 is the derived attribute, and count is the stored attribute. Okay, 65 is the derived attribute, and count is the stored attribute. So this is what stored and derived attribute is. So we have these three major attributes. We have first is simple, composite, single valued, multi-valued, stored, and derived. Okay, all three examples I have told you. Next is complex attribute. Complex attribute is nothing but the nested composite and multi-valued combination of both composite attribute components and multi-valued components. Both together, maybe some nested situation could be arise. In that case, we will call it complex attribute. So here an example they have given. This could be a complex attribute, which is nothing but address, phone number. Okay, address, phone number is a complex attribute. Okay. So example, person can have more than one residence. Each resident can have a single address and multiple address. Both phone and address are themselves composite attribute. Okay, so he is staying in two places, and both the places are related with one phone number. So in that case, phone number could be address underscore phone number could be a complex attribute. This is there. So you understood, I think, what are the different types of attributes and what are the significance of it. So this attribute is nothing but it comes under entity. Okay. Till now we are not going into relationships and all. Okay. We're simply seeing the attributes. Next is null values. So this null value attribute, I think already I have discussed in the lab. So used when a particular entity may not have an applicable value for an attribute, such as apartment number in the address. So this is like null value attribute means, or in some cases a particular entity might not have an applicable value for an attribute. For example, apartment number. Apartment number attribute of an address apply only to the address that are in the apartments and buildings, not to the types of residence such as single family homes. So it's not necessary that everybody will be having apartment number, right? The apartment number, if it is there in the any database entity, database table, so in some entries it will be null. Some entry people will not be having apartment number address, apartment number value. So this is in that case we will be having null. That means null means what? Simply zero. Null signifies zero. Another example could be college degree. College degree also, sometimes it might happen that not necessarily all employees in the organization will be having a college degree. Some might be having 10 plus 2 or 10th standard degree. So in that case, uh, when we'll enter the instance of that particular person in the database, we'll keep the degree part as null. That means degree part as 0. It symbolizes 0. And sometimes what happens in case of missing or not known information also, we used to put null value, such as sales data of the department that has not been submitted, we will put null. Home phone number is not available, we will put null. Okay, so this is all about the attribute things. So here is some example, two entity types, employee and company, and some member entities of it. So this is an employee entity and this is company entity. So in case of employee entity, we have name, age, salary as the attributes, and in case of company entity, we have name, headquarters, and president as attributes. So these are the instances. John Smith, 55 is the age, salary is 80k. Fred Brown, 40 is the age, and salary is 30k. Like that, these are the entries. But similarly for this also, company also, name of the company is Sunco, headquarters Sunco Oil, headquarters Houston, and president is John Smith. So like that, these are the entities and their corresponding attribute values that we can enter. So key attributes of an entity type. Okay, key attributes of an entity type. So an important constraint on the entities of an entity type is the key. Okay, or sometimes this key is referred as uniqueness constraint. So key is nothing but a constraint. I was mentioning many times. There are constraints. So this key is the constraint. So this key sometimes referred as uniqueness constraint also. Constraint on attributes. So key attribute, the attribute whose values are distinct for each entity in the entity set. Composite key, combination of several key values from a key. Note that such key must be minimal. So composite keys are not expected that much in the database. If there are more composite keys, trouble will come. Okay. So we can have more than one key, constant on all extension of the entity type. So here you can see that this is a car entity and it is having such kind of attributes here. And here register number of vehicle ID together is making a key. Register number and vehicle ID together we are having a key attributes. So it can uniquely identify the car, registration number and vehicle ID. Apart from that, also it has other attributes, color, make, model, number, state and year. These two underlined, meaning is that they are keys. That together they are making a key. Not only registration number, alongside vehicle ID also. So this is how it happens, and then this is this thing you can see. This is one. This is one database. Here schema diagram of the company database. Diagrammatic notation is introduced gradually throughout this. So here you can see employee is an entity, department is an entity, project is an entity, dependent is an entity. Each entities are having attributes which are in oval shape. We will discuss the shapes and all in the next class. Oval shapes, and some of the entities will be underlined, I suppose. And so here you can, I think they haven't underlined anything. So in this case, I think social security number is underlined. That means this is the key here. And here it is name and number together is making a key. Now what is this this shape, it is nothing but relationship. Okay, relationship. These boxes are responsible for relationship. This is many to one relationship. That means many employee can work in a single department. Okay, one employee can manage one department. Many employee can work on many projects, many to one. Then many employee can be supervised by one supervisor. That means out of the many employee, one employee can supervise all the employees. Similarly, here dependent, all employees are dependent on dependency. All the employees are there in the employee entity, and then similar relationships are there. Okay, so these things we will discuss in more detail and in more depth in next lecture.